Hey guys, this is Luke with Dad Life Chess. Going to record another training game here on chess.com. It's been, I guess, a couple weeks now since started this channel, and really it was just a way for us to kind of learn in public. And I think it's the added pressure of knowing you're recording something, kind of just forces you to take it more seriously. And so these games have been really helpful for me. Tonight we're going to jump into the 10-minute pool here on chess.com and see if we can get a game. All right. So we have a game here with Gear 46. 1686 rated, so pretty close to where I am right now with my rapid rating. We're going to play the London. All right, so often they'll challenge with the bishop here, in which case I almost always drop back. I don't mind if I open up the H file. It generally gives me some attacking chances down that file. It's also very normal just to play knight. Yeah, knight here. Pretty much the critical challenge on any London for black is this c5 move. I think probably it's best to play that at least in some combination with the response. So you always have to kind of be aware of that move. All right. If he does play c5 now, yeah, I think already here I'm a little bit out of book in terms of what I have memorized. Joel, who also plays the London system here and has some videos on the channel already playing the London, he is a lot better, has a lot better understanding of the different positions. In general, I think it's not as dangerous when this light squared bishop is locked in behind the pawn chain. So yeah, it's not like, obviously not losing or anything major mistake. It's just something that I'm not as concerned about usually. All right, just looking through some options here. If allowed, I want to get my knight to d2 and then try to push here. Often it's really tempting if you're playing black to push this pawn, but it's honestly not. I mean, I could be wrong about exactly when it's a good idea or not, but in general, it's just not a good idea to do that. Let's see here. Okay, this is another move, yeah, you have to be aware of. This queen b6 move you always have to check for, and it looks like this drops a piece. I don't see what I'm missing. This pawn is defended, and that bishop is not defended, so it's actually a piece, and I'm on the rook here, so just checking to make sure my bishop does not get trapped if I were to also take this pawn. Maybe it would, like, let's just say here. Okay. So it looks like he's disconnected and about to auto-resign. I don't know here. Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, two pieces. Ugh. Let me just slow down for a second, make sure I'm not missing something. So takes, even if I just don't take the piece back to stay on, let's say takes here, takes, and then move queen d2, just to ensure that there's no issues here on this diagonal. I don't see how that is a problem. Currently up two pieces, so I mean, even if he takes back with the king, probably would make the most sense. Yeah, so here I'm thinking, what are my options here? Maybe I misplayed this. So I'm looking at this, which maybe I should have played the move before. Let's say, yeah, I think that's probably the best move. Just want to force a decision on this queen. It's interesting though. This is definitely not as good a position as I thought it was going to be when he first made that mistake. Wow, I'm really interested now to look at that. I thought for sure that was just a hanging piece, and I probably just missed a tactic there that would have allowed me not to be essentially. I'm up the exchange, which would be good on its own, but I definitely expected I would be up a piece here. I'm only up the exchange and a pawn, so I am curious to see about that when we get to the analysis part of it. So let's just see, just to evaluate here. My guess is that he'll want to get his knight into c4. So, my next move will probably be d2, just so that I could take that knight if he tries to get into this square. Other than that, I mean, this bishop is not great here. It's a lot of moves to get anywhere useful. He's not putting any immediate pressure here. I'm trying to think of a move like this. Again, I think I just play knight, and if he tries to angle in and get extra pressure, I think I could just take, and then get my other knight to d2. Again, I'm just trying to limit his activity here, and I don't see any major threats to worry about. Now that the queens are off the board, the fact that my king is on e2 is probably a good thing as opposed to being a liability. It seems like it's more active. Since I am recording, there's no way to fix this. Let's see, I just noticed my opponent wants to chat. He says, oops, LOL. So apparently he thought it was a mistake. I definitely thought I would come out better than just the exchange. But oh, he's so nice in the message, I really hope he's not just going to make me sit here and wait 5 minutes for the game to end. Maybe he's thinking about his moves. Maybe he's getting some advice from a friend. By the way, right before I jumped on this game, I did get a message that one of my opponents in one of the more recent games was identified as using an engine or some other form of cheating. So I had 17 points or 16 points added to my rating. So that was interesting. I don't know what game it was. They don't give you those stats usually. I could probably find out by going back through the opponents and seeing which of those accounts is inactive. But yeah, I don't know which one it was. I've played long enough to have many times where I thought that opponent was cheating and reported them as cheating and found out that they weren't. But it's amazing, you find one that is, and it just kind of justifies all those times where you felt like you were you shouldn't have lost a game and you did. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to report someone. I look at the game and I see that I blundered, or both of us blundered multiple times. It's not really as common as most people think it is, but it does happen from time to time. And it looks like here in these slower games, it's probably more likely to happen. You have more of a chance. All right, so he is messaging me here. Okay, so he's back. Just after a little bit of a break here. So we'll just get developed. Got my iced coffee here tonight. It's my usual drink of choice. I drink iced coffee year round. So occasionally some tea here and there, but most of the time we're drinking iced coffee. All right, so I gotta figure out a plan here. Let's see. I could start trading some pieces here, but I mean, that doubled pawn, it's probably anything here is fine, but I'm just trying to think of the cleanest way to make some progress. I think what I want to do is get my rook to the open file here. Not worried about this. I can just push. See, this pawn break doesn't work. This pawn, I'm sure eventually he wants to get this pawn rolling. Yeah, that would make sense. So maybe here, push, takes a whole lot of trades. And the point here is I just want to get some open files. I'm not exactly excited about getting rid of his doubled pawn, but I didn't see an easy way to take advantage of that. So, all right, I think I just need to get some files opened up here. If I can get my rook, for example, into c7, that looks really messy to deal with. Oh, there is a pin here, which I probably should have seen. So not yet, but obviously you can't pin here. But after I take with the, let's say I take back with the knight. Yeah, he does have this, if he wants to. Yeah, maybe I play here. Let's do that. So next I'm going to be playing this. Oh. So is it really a problem if I'm pinned here? That is the question. So maybe I just need to sidestep here. So he can defend. At this point, losing so much time, it's really not playing this well. Okay, I need to get my knight in the game here. So let's find a good square for my knight. Let's keep this. Let's keep this knight out of this square. Means this knight really has nowhere to go. Can't go here. Can't go here. These are really far out of the game. Just trying to limit squares for this knight. I didn't want this knight to get in here, for example, and be able to defend. So he plays, bishop. My guess is he wants to play something like bishop d3 to support the pawn push, but he can't do that either with my knight here. So, okay, that's interesting. Let's just force a decision here. Again, he can't go here. This push is not a problem. I'll just move my king to e3. Okay, so I think with this, he's obviously threatening to push. Gotta be careful here. I was thinking I can go here, threatening here, but this comes really close to blocking that knight. So let's just start with getting my pawn back. I am really bad at winning these games. I just don't realize it till I actually am playing them. Yeah, I saw this and thought that's why I wanted my king here to defend this pawn. Although I did have check, so it wasn't like it was a big threat. All right, so he has this push on the pawn here. Yeah, but I thought I could just play this. All right, so kind of a quick win there. A blunder from my opponent in the opening, so maybe not quite the challenge that I've had in some other games, but let's just take a look and see. I know there's going to be mistakes that I can learn from. I'm sure I did not play that accurately. So let's start by just going through here without the engine, and let's take a look. So in the London, as I said, I usually drop back. I'm normally inviting them to take there. I prefer that. Here, whenever they play c5 at this position, you usually need to play that c3 move, even if you're not forced to play it up to that point, because that push at that point does get kind of awkward. I mean, you're not losing the piece yet. You can move the bishop back here, but c4 forces you to move that bishop twice, and it's just really cramped. So c3, I think, is pretty normal. This I probably should have thought through a little more. So I just assumed it was a completely dropped piece with no real threats. I did not see that this move comes next, which presents some issues that I think I was trying to work through in the game. So yeah, he pushes here, threatening this piece. I can't move my bishop for, I guess I could have sacked it for a pawn, I guess, on h7. And then, gone up the exchange and still covered my pawn on b2. That might have been cleaner. But I just realized that as he played this move, I realized that if I take here, as I did in the game, then he takes back with the pawn, taking back here is going to get really messy because he takes here, and yeah, that rook can't be defended. So unless I'm missing something, it can't be defended. He's also threatening, to take the rook on a1. I don't think there's a way for me to solve that, so I think I had to play as I did in the game. I threw in that move first, actually. So I was thinking that in this situation, without saving my piece, I would have had to play here. Queen d2, covering this pawn, and then I think he just calmly takes back here. And what's the material there? I'm up the exchange. So basically, it's something very similar to what we had in the game, except for I actually got this pawn back. sooner. And I was eventually going to get that either way, I think. I don't think that was really a concern. So throwing this move in here, I don't think really matters. Win the pawn back. So I'm curious to see if there was either a better line for him or if I misplayed that and didn't get as much of an advantage as I should have. This may seem kind of, like a simple win at this point up the exchange and, better pawn structure, but I've lost so many games like this that I usually need this. And I did look at this. I did see this pin. I mentioned this when I was playing. I just don't think it's an issue. And I'm wondering, like, even here, if even this move now would be worth playing. Because what I was actually most worried about was taking with the pawn. And then, especially if his rook is over here, and then the push, which is a discovered attack on my king. Now that I'm looking at it, though, I don't know there's anything there at all. So I'll look in the game and see, look at the analysis and see if I'm missing something here, but I think this is fine. And I just wanted to play this move because I wanted to avoid the discovered attack, basically. Although as I'm looking at it now, let's see, D2, or even, I'm sorry, D1 or even E1, and I think this is fine. So maybe there's nothing here. We'll find out in the analysis, but I played this just because I wanted to force a decision here. Either he's going to leave this diagonal, leave this diagonal and the protection of this pawn, or if he takes here and then I take back, we have something very similar. We're losing, he's losing this pawn. Yeah, I also saw here that if he takes with the bishop, I take here. And I think, as scary as it looks, I think if he goes back, I can just play here and, defend my piece, or even leave the diagonal, because my rook is still guarding. As soon as he moves back, I would check first on A8, and then I think I could defend this piece without any problems. So I don't think there's anything here either. We'll look at the analysis, see if I missed something. These moves are probably not the most accurate, so this is probably where we'll see my mistakes. Again, I played this move just because I wanted to keep his knight out of D5. Don't know what that was about. He's not even really threatening to take here because I can take, or push there because I can take with my knight. So I'm not sure what the point of that was. Decided to go after the pawn. Yeah, and it really helped that he couldn't just push this and then, get his bishop here, for example, because my knight is covering that square. I saw this, I moved E3 just to keep an eye on this pawn because I knew that this move was coming next and I couldn't really defend easily here without some possible discoveries and could get kind of messy. So I moved my king over just to make sure I could cover that pawn. I did have check either way, so it's probably not even a big deal. But and then here, he's just trying to get it past pawn, obviously, and he might have been able to get close, but I saw the push, and then I saw that I could threaten the bishop on A8 here. Even in this situation, takes. I take his bishop. Yeah, his knight's in danger right afterward. I don't think there's any trouble here at all. So we'll look at the game. I don't see anything that was really too much of a surprise. Let's see what the overall analysis is here. It says 1 mistake, 1 blunder, 0 missed wins. So definitely, just from the basic analysis standpoint, there are definitely going to be some things to learn from the game. So let's run that analysis really quick and take a look at those moves. All right. So like I said, we have the London here. All this is pretty normal. Just keeping an eye on the first time where we have a blunder. Okay, so the queen b6 was obviously a blunder like I suspected. Obviously, it's just a piece hanging. That move was the best move after the blunder, though, and it did create a little bit of complications. So, okay, inaccuracy. So instead, bishop x c4. Okay, so they're recommending that I just take with the bishop here because there's no threats on my dark squared bishop. That makes perfect sense. So, I mean, I'm obviously currently up another pawn. I'm still up the piece that I already took. If he takes back here, then I take here, and there's no struggles with keeping this pawn protected here on b2. I'm curious what is the difference on evaluation here. So this is plus 4, almost plus 5 if I take how is it supposed to, but taking the rook, it goes down to plus 3. So yeah, inaccuracy for sure. Okay, good. So bishop c5 was the best move. I wasn't sure about that. I was trying to figure out if that was a mistake. It looks like that, given the other mistake I made, was probably the best move there. Takes, I get my pawn back. Yeah, and this pawn structure just is difficult. I mean, besides being up the exchange, it's just also a rough pawn structure to try to protect. I've actually had multiple games against Joel where this somehow happens and I'm stuck trying to defend these pawns, and it's really annoying. In the London, this looks really like kind of a boring setup, but when you're black here trying to protect these pawns the whole game, it's actually really annoying. So let's see. All right, pretty good. All right, so it looks like they were recommending a4 already as just slightly better here. I played knight f5 first and then played e4 on the next move. King f3 is good. Maybe slightly better is just getting the king here to d1. Yeah, not a huge difference though, I don't think. a5 is good. And instead of pushing to c3, it looks like he should have kept his bishop defending there, which makes sense, and played g5 instead. Okay, just pushing some pawns here on the king side. So this would be another inaccuracy for my opponent, just putting that pawn on a dark square that I can attack now. And since he can't get his bishop here, as I mentioned, then there's really not a way for him to defend that pawn by pushing it to c2. So it looks like that was an accuracy. All right, so this is a mistake. Saw the evaluation change from +6 to +3. So yeah, it's a pretty big mistake. Let's see what the problem is here. First of all, what was the better move? Rook a3. Okay, I played this move like a couple moves later, 1 or 2 moves later, just to go after that pawn. It looks like that was my mistake, was just not doing that sooner. I wonder if there's a way for my opponent to punish this though. c2. Okay. Rook a3. Wait, rook a3. Why can't I go after it here? Oh, we have check. Oh, wow, that would have been... Wow, that would have been a messy position. Knight d3 is my best move here, giving a piece back. Bishop x d3. Rook b2. Wow. Just getting all my pieces off of those light squares so there's no discovered attack, but still, I mean, obviously inviting the discovered attack. It's actually coming with check here, taking this pawn. Whoa, whoa, that was dangerous. So my e4 move here invited the c2 move, and I was thinking in terms of being able to defend it, but actually the bigger threat here, because I played f3 with my king to get away earlier, to get out of the pin, it opened up this third rank for the rook. And so let me just see here, just out of curiosity. So we have here, let's just play the best moves. A3. Just because this is such a dangerous thing. I don't know that I would have seen that in the game. Maybe I would have, but I mean, A2 was my idea just to get this pawn off the board. But it looks like, there's just nowhere to go. Is that what it is? Like, what about here? Mate in 1. What an interesting mate in 1. What is it? F, yeah. Nowhere to go here. Knight covers the escape square here. Of course, the bishop covers here. Yep, that would have been a mistake. I can't go here. Wow, I did not see this earlier. When I moved my king here, when I moved my king to F3, I definitely did not think ahead and think through just the weaknesses that I was creating, or the lack of escape squares for my king. Because this knight here on F6 does a great job covering a lot of key squares. This pawn is obviously covering here. So it just really limits my options for the king on where I can go. Yeah, I mean, I would hope in a game that if my opponent played here, obviously I know I can't take, so there's no obvious blunder there where I would take, at this point. So I would hope that I would see that this file is open, but again, I'm going off of experience, and I know myself that I may not have seen that. So that's an interesting thing just to have missed in my calculation here. As it stands, that's not what happened in the game. Instead, he played that move early, the G5 move, which we already mentioned was probably coming. I came here. Yeah, at this point, it's +7. There's not much to do. See if I missed anything here. Nope. And then my opponent resigned. I thought he lost on time, but he still had 3 seconds here, so it looks like he just resigned. So pretty clean game overall. Let me see here. Yeah, 91% accuracy. Again, that's largely just helped by that one blunder that my opponent made early on. And he messaged me right after. It's probably something that he doesn't normally do in the games. We've all been there, right? With the early blunder in the opening, and you just kind of kick yourself and then have to keep playing on. Other than that, we actually played pretty close in terms of accuracy. 1 mistake, 1 inaccuracy for me, 1 mistake and 2 inaccuracies for him. But that blunder was just the decisive one. And I think the big takeaways for me would just be, I guess it's probably just a general principle thing, and probably for someone who started playing when they were younger, this is more obvious, but moving my king there to F3 and kind of escaping that way, it didn't seem dangerous because queens were off the board. He's already a rook, rook down the exchange, but that did limit my options later on where I could go that was safe. And so I probably should just be aware of the fact that if I'm going to try to escape with my king ahead of my pawn, my pawns there on the king side, that there can be some tactics for my opponent. So I'll just remember that just in general. Yeah, and then I think I played the blunder early on pretty well. I probably should have seen here that I could take on C4. It's not a huge difference. What was it? I think what I played was, yeah, about a pawn loss there just by making the wrong move. But I probably should have seen that as an option of dealing with this issue that I was seeing. And again, the reason why I can play that is because currently this bishop is not under attack. So I don't need to do anything with it right away. I am already up the piece. I can just find a way to avoid the complications here with my queen. And so that's probably something I should have seen. Yeah, but all in all, pretty happy with that game. It seems like it was a pretty clean win, and my rating is slowly climbing here. Should be around 1750 now after this game. Joel is at like 2000. The guy hit his highest rating ever on Rapid. So not that it's a competition, but at least I have somewhere to aim and try to get better. And honestly, these games are about us just getting better ourselves. So I've found this already just playing at the chess club. Things that I've kind of learned by playing these Rapid games have carried over into those games, just being more clear with my moves and calculations. So these games are really more about us learning and trying to get better. And then a side benefit would be if I could somehow catch up to him and maybe challenge him for highest rating rapid. Who knows? Give me a few years, maybe we might get close. But anyway, good game. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out the channel. We'll see you next time. Thanks.